amount of promotions that would happen on a golf course or on a night out, I wouldn't be present. You'd come back to work and they're like, oh yeah, I've got a pay rise.
The disproportionate number of women are in admin and support roles, not in leadership roles. I started a campaign called the Dinosaurs campaign. It's not inclusive. We don't walk around talking Dickensian to each other. It went on national radio. I got 81 million views or something.
I see ladies in leadership more suited to leadership now because of the skill set of a leader. Skills of bringing a team together that I think are more required now than they probably were 30 years ago.
Why aren't we talking about the business of our business? You tell me, because we're not invited to. Nobody asks me to talk about interest rates, the impact of the war in Iran. People ask me to talk about women and then they go, do you have mum guilt? I'm more concerned by the people who I think probably morally agree, but who are still privately messaging me saying, I think it's too harsh. Be the change you want to see. I know it's such a cliche, but
it's not though, is it? It's a great starting point. Welcome to this episode of Estate Agent Showdown with me, Matt Giggs. I'm joined by two fabulous guests, low key. You're not the type that I think are going to interrupt this conversation too much today with calling anyone out in particular. So we're going to take it fairly easy, or not?
Don't know, it's up to you.
No, let's not bother, right? Let's not bother. So I'm delighted to be joined. I kind of know you. This is Alexandra Hearn.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Hearn.
From Brighton.
Yes.
And were you part of TA UK network?
Yes, I'm now with the TA UK network.
How long's that been?
5 years.
It's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years.
Been one of the
I was the OG 12.
Oh, brilliant.
When we all sat around Steph and Andy's garden. And there
did
was
you
12
come
of
out
us.
of Mission McKay to go into it?
So I left Missions, a very well-established estate agency.
Yeah.
I needed to do something different where I kept not hitting my head on a glass ceiling.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I've done some training probably...
You had.
7, 8 years, 9 years ago? I can't remember.
It would have been 10 years ago.
10 years ago. So you would have been in the room.
Just as I was coming. Yeah,
having some fun.
Yeah, that was. It was all the managers.
It was. Yeah.
It was all the managers.
Back
And
in
there
the
was,
day.
and maybe a couple of sales managers.
Yeah.
They were lucky enough to be picked.
Oh, God, isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Anyway, and then, obviously, Ellie Reeves, not Eloise, I was told off in our little WhatsApp group not too long ago. Ellie, Brickworks, tell us more about Brickworks, and this is your business?
it is my business. I run it with my husband. We're co-founders. I mean, that's
a subject.
another
I
podcast.
was going to say, we could get you on to talk about that alone. My wife said that as well recently. So we need to do an episode on us working together. I was like, no, I'm keeping that
I actually
well
think
away.
it's really interesting. It's such a specific dynamic. But yeah, I'm an fine artist by training. So I came into agency because my husband showed me around a house. I met him on a viewing. I know, it's true.
I love
It's
it.
true. And I asked him out.
You did?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
closed him?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So if there's any closing training
I said, if
required-
you're single and not gay, do you want to go on a date?
Oh my God.
Because I was like, I didn't want to make any assumptions and be presumptuous. So, and then 12 weeks later, I was pregnant, and then we set up the company, really based on his experience of working in high street and corporate agency.
So he was high street corporate, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Met him on a viewing, asked him on a date, got pregnant 12 weeks later. Okay, I'm liking this, but you used to
Quick,
do art.
fast paced.
Yeah.
You're an artist by heart.
And a lecturer. I was in academia, and
I had a quick look at your LinkedIn profile
Did you?
yesterday. Yeah.
I did see that you'd been on there.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
know.
he's doing his research. Just
Kind of knew a little bit more about you and not so much about you.
Apart from that, I shout at people.
You
on
like shouting at
LinkedIn. No,
people.
I don't. I actually really don't.
No,
I try
I
to
know.
be as
Well,
polite as possible.
But you don't type in capitals though, do you?
No.
So it's not shouting.
Never.
Never.
And I'm actually really nice, aren't I?
Lovely. We've had a
Well,
great
we'll
coffee.
decide on that at the end. Jack's got the casting vote. I've written down some questions. I've really broadly brought these questions out of our WhatsApp conversations already, actually, because I thought, it's very tempting sometimes when you start a WhatsApp conversation to do all of the content in there. And I thought, well, let's try and manage that and get it out
Sensible.
of LinkedIn, out of
Yeah.
the WhatsApp group and into a conversation.
Yeah.
Now, I'm 50-year-old, male, not so
am I
pale.
50.
Huh?
I'm 50 this year too.
There you go. You're about 30, I reckon.
I love you, Matt. Thank you so much. I'll take 30.
Well done,
every day.
Matt.
Well
Do
done.
I get a point?
Well
Do I get a
done.
point
You get 10
already?
bonus
10
points.
Right, brilliant.
Yeah.
And, obviously, my role here today is to just really understand. I'm going to ask some questions that I feel are worth asking you. I want to understand about how we first kind of got into this I was going to say a mess, but that's
No,
not
I'd
going to
say
be
a
a mess, is it?
conversation.
How we got into this conversation,
Debate.
this debate, because actually I put a post out there on LinkedIn with my mentor group of 4 men, and I think it was Christian Byfield said, "Come on, I think we need a little bit more diversity," something along those lines.
Yes.
And that sort of started a little chain reaction, and then
And it got a bit heated by some of those men.
It did. It got a little bit. I think, but this is where it needs to start.
Yeah, for sure. But
I would say.
I wondered if it got heated because they then felt guilty, or they realised, there should be more diversity.
It was it, and it was someone you knew. That's how we all kind of we met in that middle bit of the Venn diagram. And somebody you had worked for, I think, was. Would it be fair to say that people were quite defensive?
I think if you looked from the outside looking in, you would have probably said yes. I think because of the context wasn't maybe put with the post, which was, here's my mentor group. I've been working with them for 2 years. They've just had an incredible year. We got together and that's it.
Yeah.
It would make more sense. But I think where that post, and maybe even like Simon Gates's one, with the team of men in this
10
building.
white men.
In this building. So we're going to do one today with just you 2 and me, and then we can kind of level it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Going right back to the posts being made in the first instance, and we can talk really candidly about this because we sort of already have a bit. Intention's really important, isn't it? We talk about that all the time in business, but in life, we know intention's really important. It's good to listen to what people's intentions are. Yeah. But also perception. I think it was you who said to me, we know perception is everything. And that's quite right. Perception is super important. Presentation is super important. The language we use, framing something's really important. So what could be totally innocuous, objectively, could come across as sort of aggressive.
Yeah.
And now we're meeting, and I know you, and I feel extremely confident we'll get on really well.
Totally.
And we'll probably have a kind of good relationship moving forwards. And already there's a bit of banter and back and forth. Can come across objectively if it's not framed accurately or with the intention clearly and explicitly. You know, if you said, I'm with a bunch of mates, but it also happens to be a mentoring program, and no one's going to attack you or have a go at your, pull you up on or call you out on whatever, however we, whatever words we use, for being with like-minded people who you work with in business, who you have a good relationship with, who have got something really valid and legitimate to say. But I think some of the words, I can't remember, but maybe some of the words you used was something like, the best independent agents in the UK or something.
It might have been. I can't even remember.
So if I'm just like scrolling and there's like loads of noise, and
so if you link that with
totally
the picture,
out of context, and I go,
totally.
5 white men, best independent agents in the UK. I'm like, hang on a minute, independent agents
Surely
in the UK. Surely there are some black and brown and female ones.
Yeah, for sure.
And again with Simon's post, and there's it's really not personal, it's really not individual. It's like we just have to do better in terms of representing and reflecting who we really are.
Well, the first question, and I totally understand that now you've explained it. So I actually know more now. You've just sat there and explained that with the photo and then the paragraph or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So and I think that's where I'm coming from. I want to kind of walk in your shoes a little bit today, because I think as a guy, and being quite honest about this, I just wouldn't understand a lot of what a women's journey or a lady's journey through the career of a state agency looks like in comparison to mine. And without going into great detail, the only way you really get to find out is by trying to walk in somebody else's shoes, because I probably fall into the trap where I see a lot of agents online who are female.
Yeah.
And certainly the examples that you two are great examples of that. And I think with the self-employed model as well, you're starting to see more of that happening, people taking those steps into creating something for themselves.
100%.
And I totally love that.
You can own the power and it is for you.
Yeah. But when we see the article from Savile, you kind of think, well, we're actually not really going very far forward. I mean, that's really almost just a tiny drift, not a shift.
Yeah.
And when you look at
and as a female, the only way to get control was to be self-employed.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like we could have gotten control within an estate agency branch or group.
Or set your own company up,
Or set
right?
my own
Do
company
it
up. So
yourself.
it just feels like that was the way I could have gotten control.
Well,
and that's a shame.
But you can speak way more than me because I came sort of in at the top, if you like, because I started my own gig. But you can speak really to the experience of decades of and not being promoted again and not being promoted again and being asked about whether or not you were going to have a kid when you got married and that sexist culture.
I think I can name at least, well, within a big chain estate agency that I first worked at, I didn't get a promotion because my presentation, the way I looked wasn't good enough, apparently. Really? And that was my feedback for not getting promoted to that position. And then I've had, when I got married, within that, I got asked repeatedly on my appraisals, you can have a child, you can settle down, you can have a child. And then when someone else within the group had a child, oh God, we've got to get them on maternity leave. Oh God. And that was was the fear. Really? If I have a child, I won't have a job because I won't want to. That was and it was horrible to have that stress.
You know, I'm being honest, because, you know, I've not walked in your shoes, and I can imagine that I can resonate with that, but differently by being in environments where that was probably going on.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of call it out a little bit myself today, but also look at solutions, because I think solutions are what we're looking for. But one of the first questions, sorry, Ellie, go on. You were gonna say something.
I knew you were going to ask me about solutions. And I feel a bit resentful about being asked about solutions.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because, and I've already told you this, so forgive me, but 5 years ago,
I've got that.
I talked to Chris Watkin and he was asking me the same questions.
Yeah. Well,
and I think I came up with some solutions, and I feel a little bit like, why is it our responsibility to educate?
I'm asking that question from a slightly different standpoint.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what Matt's got to say.
Yeah.
But you're very open.
And I think that's what I'm trying to encourage, because I've got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think that my wife's involvement in our business in the last 2 years has made a massive difference because of her skill set.
Yeah.
And she's able to achieve things with people in the team that I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because we're very different.
Yeah.
So I'm really open to how businesses and our industry can move forward. And I put a post out recently about there's so much divisiveness, division in politics. Let's take politics just for a second.
Yeah.
You know,
Party politics.
Left versus right.
Okay.
But most people that are reasonable human beings are somewhere in the middle of all this. And all you want is, you probably want some ideas from both sides and find out what the best one is. And I, you know, when I grew up, I was in Countrywide for many years, and all of the people I recall looking back were senior 55, 60, 65, 70-year-old guys.
There was no female role models for me.
No, and I think that I look back at the business model at the time and what it looked like in that market, and I just don't think it's appropriate today. I don't, because
also,
I see ladies in leadership more suited to leadership now because of the skill set of a leader. If you look at just the characteristics, and I'm being fairly, you know, I'm saying ladies are maybe better at communication.
Or we're being sort of generalising and being stereotypical to make the point.
But vulnerability,
soft
skills. So the skills of bringing a team together that I think are more required now than they probably were 30 years ago. So I see it as an opportunity. Solutions-wise, I think it's not up to just you to come up with the solutions. It's up to the industry and to have tangible things in place where it's actually going to be encouraged. But let me go through some questions, because I'm already starting this wheel turning, which is brilliant. But one of the first questions I wanted to ask you is, before we kind of got into these big subjects and topics, is can you just share, each of you, a moment in your career where you either felt overlooked or underestimated? And you kind of touched a little bit. I've already touched a bit,
haven't I? I think certainly when I was working at the Brig National Estate Agency brand, the amount of promotions that would happen on a golf course or on a night out, which ended up being in a club or a bar that I wouldn't be present. You'd come back to work and they're like, oh yeah, I've got a pay rise, or I've got this, and I'm like, where do I get heard? And I'd never felt I actually got heard, and the appraisals weren't particularly helpful, as in I was talked at a lot. It's all about KPIs, and I think it was a shame, because I think I could have given so much more if I was felt heard.
Yeah.
Also, I think, as female, you want to see someone that has got children, that can still own a managerial job, that can still present and be a really great role model.
Yeah.
And you don't have that. Still, you don't really see that.
No.
And I was talking about my business partner today about it, Claudia Romano, and we were talking about it and just going, who did we look up to? It was very few. Like you said at Countrywide, and it's a shame.
If any.
Yeah.
There was like a couple, and then the females that really were idolised, they probably worked 14, 15 hours a day and didn't have the other responsibilities that I think as a female you will want to have as a family.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And I know you've mentioned you've come straight into the business ownership element.
Yeah.
But have you experienced anything like that yourself?
A
chance you might have done.
1,000,000%.
Give us an example from maybe outside the industry or in the industry.
Well, what I found was in part, I used to think, it's because Rex is really experienced as an estate agent, and he worked for the Modern House, and he worked for Winkworth, and he worked for KFH, and he's done, and he worked for Independence, and he's so much more experienced than me. But he's not, I don't think he's more articulate than I am. I don't think he's more competent than I am. I don't think he's more intelligent than I am. And often I felt that I was overlooked, patronised. He was sort of, it was kind of palpable that he was seen as the boss. Right. I had to really fight for my space. And you talk to a lot of women in kind of senior positions and leadership roles in our industry and in other kind of similarly culturally male-dominated industries, sort of typically and historically. And they do talk about sort of having to really kind of sharpen their elbows to make that room to be her. It's one of the reasons I come across as shouty and loud it's because I use this analogy a lot. When you're saying to a kid, please tidy your bedroom. Right, and you start
My wife says that to me.
You start off at like DEFCON, I always get it the wrong way around, DEFCON 5.
Yeah.
Or DEFCON 1, whichever way around it is. You start off please can you tidy your bedroom? And then you're like, come on, tidy your bedroom. I've already asked you 3, tidy, and then by the end you're like, you're fucking tidy your bedroom. Okay. And that is sort of the journey of my 12 years in estate agency, which is, maybe I'm a little bit shouty and loud and calling it out.
You're fed up.
But honestly, I'm really fed up.
Yeah.
And I'm fed up not because I'm just fed up as an individual. I'm fed up because, and by the way, every time one of those images with a caption of 10 white men comes up on LinkedIn, this is honestly true. I'm often just being DM'd by lots of people.
Yeah.
Going, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And I'm in a really privileged position, right? So I'm in a privileged position of owning my own business. So I can call it out. I can put my head above the parapet without fear of
role. There's no chance.
No chance. Damage the brand, be seen as toxic, stuff's going to stick to them, potentially fear of genuinely losing their job, right, or their livelihood. So I'm in that privileged position. I'm also white, so I'm hugely privileged in that sense. I'm a cisgender straight woman, right? So I have to use that privilege. So quite a lot of the time, genuinely, there's a sort of collective groundswell. Sometimes I don't even see these posts. They're sent to me, and it's almost like it's my responsibility
to bring it
to bring it to light.
So the people that send it to you, do they not bring it?
Well, I think a lot of those
people
feel like they no, and it's not. Look, this isn't always the case. Sometimes it is off my own back, but there are lots of people who also then respond and say, "Thank you so much for continually calling this out. I can't do it because of X, Y, and Z." It's like the number of people I know who've signed NDAs when they've become pregnant. It's really shocking. It's really shocking. And there's this is the other thing. There's data to support this.
Tell me a little bit more about that, because that's not something that's familiar to me.
Well, and there's a big there's an organisation called Pregnant Then Screwed, run by Jolie Bareilles. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it's basically, in a nutshell, and this is a whole other podcast, but it's called the Motherhood Penalty, and it's ostensibly being discriminated against because maybe you will get pregnant and you will leave, and we don't have very good or kind of very equitable parental rights and pay in this country. And it's getting better. And there are some kind of visible corporates that are putting in really good programs like Knight Frank. I will just give them that one.
Go on.
Well, they just brought in very liberal and open and equitable parental leave policy to do with pay, and it's not based on having a biological child, and it's not based on sexuality. It's like across the board. I've lost my train of thought.
No. So it's about the NDAs.
Yeah, so I know personally 3 women who've been asked to sign NDAs in order to leave a company because they got pregnant within a state agency.
Wow. I never had to
corporate estate agency.
But it's hard coming back in once you've had a child.
Really hard to come back in. And you hear all this. I think what's also really important, Matt, is like you hear a lot of this stuff anecdotally and women talk to each other about it. But there is also data. There's genuine research out there. I've been looking at stuff yesterday and today done by Voice of the Agent, Simon Ledbetter. And the stats on, I think it was nearly 850 people were surveyed in a state agency, and the stats on the number of women who feel that they are discriminated against on the basis of gender is something like 71% by clients, and it's something like nearly half, I think it's 44%, who feel discriminated against on the basis of gender by colleagues, and men is something like 5%. Okay, so what you have to imagine is genuinely, you're asking about, I don't know how it feels, I want to be able to feel like I can walk in your shoes. That is that 44% of people you meet, you feel are judging you or being biased towards you or discriminating against you because you're a bloke. It's shocking, and it's also what it does is it sort of cements. It's kind of vindicating, because I think a lot of the time women are talking about these things, they're telling each other stories and they're sharing this stuff, and like I'm calling it out, and a lot of what I get is, oh, you're looking for something that's not there.
Really?
Yeah. Somebody DM'd me from that, after that post, saying you're looking for something that's not there. Oh. So it's like you're making a fuss.
Just keep quiet.
All the time. It's just this.
It's always like they're patting your head.
It's just like, calm down, dear.
Yeah.
It's not what I do.
Yeah.
And it creates a bigger void as well, doesn't it? And it's just not helpful.
Well, that whole conversation was sparked by calling out a male panel or a manel. That's it. I should have put manel down.
That's great.
But why do you think this is still happening? You mentioned the Watkins video 5 years ago, and I think he put willy waving in his post, did he, or something like that? I can't even remember now. Yeah. But why do you think it is still happening? And where is it improving, and where could the other part of the industry improve? Are you seeing any improvements?
Well, the data isn't brilliant in terms of improvement.
Okay, because my naivety is I'm thinking self-employed estate agency is a great angle for people that want to work more flexibly, not because they shouldn't get away with working less flexibly in a more corporate role, but it's opening another door.
It is, for sure. I think when you've got to juggle the child, the school run and everything, sitting in an office that you probably don't need to sit in this modern times, from 8:30 to 6:30, because childcare doesn't start until 9. It finishes historically at 4:30. I don't know what you do with the other part of the day when you've got a child, but it's really hard to juggle it. It's just not. And ultimately, it is not helping people working in the high street agency.
Yeah.
And I think the expectations are that you then meet up in managers' meetings and such like that as well. And it's just really hard as a mum to juggle all of that, unless you've got a really supportive husband at home that is able to take a little bit of a back step, which I was really lucky to have. Yeah. We split the maternity and paternity 6 months each. So I came back to work after the first 6 months, and he took the other 6 months. But still coming back to work, the expectation was I'd be at work at 8:30 to 5:30. So I just literally see my child for maybe an hour each side of the day.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
No.
And it wasn't. And then when I wanted and questioned whether I could come back and not work as many hours, it was like, but you won't be paid as much. or you would have to be then demoted. Incidentally, I did work less hours, but I still listed more houses than anyone else that did those bigger hours. So ultimately,
But I think there's a lot to be said about businesses which are focused on outcome rather than output.
it's KPIs. They're ridiculous.
Because outcome is client satisfaction results, or like you say, can you do the same if not more business but have a more flexible pattern of work?
I think I sat in
it's
that
a
office.
skill level rather than a...
I sat in that office. I didn't have lunch breaks, and I called out like a woman possessed because I knew I had to be out by 5. Whereas the ones that were working those longer hours and some was doing the 6 days, they were just scrolling around on Instagram, or probably not even Instagram back then, like Facebook and stuff, and they were just not working as hard and fast.
Yeah, a lot of people just fill the time out.
I had to
don't
fight
they?
so hard to have my shorter hours.
KPIs are fine, aren't they?
They
But
are fine.
It's just, what are they? Like, all it means is key performance indicator. Like, they don't have to be financial.
No.
They don't have to be volume based. It doesn't have to be how many calls have you made,
Well,
how many
but
value.
they are though. Historically, it's like, have you not made 99 calls today?
Yeah.
But does it matter how many calls I've made?
I'm not a fan of that.
If I've booked like 2 valuations and I've done a sale, that's a lot of
This
money.
is why it's about the change in culture, because if your KPIs are customer satisfaction,
or trust amongst colleagues and clients,
or repeat business, or whatever it might be, or speed of sale, for example. I don't know. Other metrics, right? And we talk about like the stereotypically softer, more emotionally intelligent metrics. Then what you're doing is, from top down, you're kind of creating a different culture. And it is cultural, what you're talking about. Yeah. I also think that it is really massively about recruitment. It's really massively about recruitment.
The language prior to people joining.
All of it.
The whole thing.
I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day who was saying they've started ensuring that there are no names on CVs because of ethnic and racial subconscious bias.
Yeah, it's interesting. It feels so. What I was making the point was that from where I sit, I was thinking we're moving forward.
Yeah,
we may not be, right?
Yeah,
and I'm giving you my thoughts. So they are what they are.
And they might
They're
move
from my
forward.
observations. But I don't think they are in the bigger businesses. That's where I've seen where I see, and obviously when it comes to things like myself or one or two others in the industry that could be a little bit more thoughtful around how you're inviting people to workshops, masterminds, training, how you present content to the wider world. You could certainly make a lot more effort in just being aware of what it is you put out. So,
but that's all it is.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just being really mindful.
It is mindful. Yeah,
but it's also about, if you really believe in fairness and equality, it's also that. It's sort of walking the walk, because a lot of people say, but I believe that, and then you see them not doing it. And that's also what's quite frustrating.
Do you think that's just conditioned behaviour? Maybe.
I mean, society is misogynist. Like, we are also, we are also just a litmus. The industry is bad, right? It's quite bad in comparison to other industries. Like, we've got a larger than average gender pay gap and authority gap.
Can you just explain that pay gap on that article? Because wasn't it 65%?
No, but it's like really complicated, and I can't, because it's so complicated.
But that's an article that Savills have put out there in the industry press, and it didn't really do him much of a favour. I mean, I don't know why looked at it. I was like, it was one of those emojis.
Faceplant.
They're
better off not just putting any article out, apparently.
But I think more than anything, and it's not just Savills, right? But just going back to the kind of that corporate visibility. Again, I talked to Chris about this ages ago. That sort of corporate visibility, they have a responsibility because they are seen to be kind of leading the way, if you like. Yeah. And, Savills is like the most recognisable estate agency brand in the country.
Yeah.
There's an obligation to set the tone.
But I find, and this is again, I think we've got to be careful companies don't just become virtue signalling. So in other words, it looks great on the surface, but actually
all they're doing, International Women's Day. I mean, it's like...
It's a bit... and actually the bit that you're talking to me about and the feedback
I've had is
just the real stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a personal thing I can change.
Yeah.
And I'm actually fine with that because, and I've said this on other podcasts, and I believe this 100%, is going back to the general stereotype. I think clients, when they meet someone who's good at listening, will build trust.
Yeah.
They'll build trust with that person. I genuinely think, I'm saying ladies, have a good ability to ask questions and be curious and listen and have empathy and all of those things. I think they've got the secret sauce in that estate agency arena naturally. So I've never really understood why there isn't more flexibility to find the right people rather than have the right hours over the role, because I think the outcome is more important than the output.
I don't know the answer to that because I'm not one of those men in management deciding why people stay in their positions or why people don't get promoted.
Yeah.
It's a hard one because most females excel at their conversion rates.
Yeah.
But I wonder whether as females, because we're slightly softer and listening and we don't shout as aggressively when we have won something, we're not seen as well. Because the guys that will jump up and down, I've just closed this deal, I've closed that deal. We don't do that as much. I mean, maybe we should.
I don't know whether you should. I think the numbers, you run a business, you run your own business. Yeah. The most important number really at the end of it is, are you banking? Are you covering?
What's your profit?
What's your profit margins, right?
And your happiness.
And then you work it all the way back up, and you can use different metrics. There's a great video that a guy called Simon Sinek put out there years ago about the Navy SEALs, performance versus trust, and how they measure people coming into the high pressured environment of the Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs. Now, talks about high performance, low trust in a team, and that person is a toxic team member. I find the beating of the chest, putting your numbers on the board kind of mentality like it's already 2 decades behind us, but it's not.
It's so prevalent, and you've only got to look at like Guy Gittins' posts of Foxtons, and if you bank this amount, you get this car, and then you get flown around Canary Wharf in a helicopter.
I mean, they're very deliberate on what they're putting out there, aren't they? And who they should attract.
But it's
short, branding,
it's
isn't
short term. Like what are the happiness levels of that staff? Like what is it's short term gain, and it's like I don't know.
They've gone back. They're trying to. It seems from the outside looking in, they're trying to go back to where it was all those years.
Devolving, as my daughter would say. We're devolving. No. I was like, what does that mean? She was like, it's the opposite of evolving.
But the shares. I think I don't know where they are now, but I think there was some significant improvements.
But because that's what people care about, right? So that's capitalism. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's the metric, right? So it's all fine because the shareholders are happy.
That's what I was going to say,
right? But I'm not interested in that. That's not why I do my job.
No. But is that where the opportunity lies for businesses who are looking at the diversity element and that equality element in terms of broadening that out to be the strength of their business? And imagine if I walked into your office, I already get a sense of what it'll feel like, right? And
because then you attract different customers.
Well, this is the point.
What's the public perception of Foxton still really?
Still really bad.
I would imagine so.
Right, and of estate agents in general, really bad. Right, what? Like, that's if that was the metric, not doing very well.
Yeah.
But estate agents in a whole still need to improve our.
Do you feel that the industry reputation's improving though?
I'd like to think it is, but still, like
I don't tell people what I do. Do you? I have all these caveats. I have all these caveats right before.
Is that your disguise, Matt?
Yeah. I just put my rose tinted glasses on for a second. There they are. Right. You'll like this question.
Things are getting better. Things can only.
You'll like this question.
Okay.
This is just for you, Ellie.
Oh, golly.
You've been very vocal.
Oh God.
Has calling things out actually created change or mostly resistance?
Oh. Change, because I don't know if you know, but I started a campaign called the Dear Sirs campaign.
Tell me about that.
About 5 years ago, and we were successful.
Tell me, or tell my audience a little bit more about that.
I didn't even know if that would happen in my lifetime, let alone. So I know where you're coming from, and I know why you're asking me that question. No. And I know that I upset people sometimes, and so I'm sorry if I say. I said to Christian Byfield recently, I'm kind of I'm sort of old enough now and long in the tooth enough to. It's not that I don't care whether people like me or not, but there are more important things.
Do you think that is like, if you
really
don't mind
good
this, like,
friends.
an age thing where you move further away from giving a fuck?
And
Excuse
I
my
think,
French.
yeah,
no,
they're
but
quite
I
low
also
right
think
now.
for women way more, because we know that women are judged on more superficial things quite a lot of their life. And
Yeah.
you just get to a point, I don't know about you, Alex,
Yeah.
and you're younger than me, but I'm just like, I don't. With respect.
I still care.
I don't want to
about it.
hurt. I mean, genuinely, really don't want to hurt somebody.
No.
But I think there's a bigger collective goal here that frankly is more important. So with the Dear Sirs campaign, it's that Dear Sirs used to be historically the default salutation for solicitors and within the legal profession, right? Dear Sirs. And I came into the industry and I was like, Dear Sirs?
Really?
What?
Like you just thought we were back in the 18th century.
Literally. Hundreds of
Still
years
going on,
ago.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Still going
No.
on? No, not at all.
No.
Don't get a
So
letter
the
from a solicitor now, so you're all right.
Yeah.
So, hi, watcha. So I was just sort of like, this is really baffling, because I'd come from another industry. I was like, this is really absurd. And everyone said, oh, it's just the way it's done and it's the language that's used and it's, blah, blah, blah. And I spoke to lots of really brilliant people like Claire Yates, who was like, yeah, you're right, it's ridiculous. And, started sort of speaking to her trainee solicitors about it and things like that. And the word sort of slowly started to spread, but really slowly. And there was so much resistance and so much backlash. People would say things like, oh, what do you want me to say? Like, yo, bro. Or like, all right, amoeba. And I'm like, no, this isn't just being woke. This is that it's like inappropriate. It's not inclusive. I'm not a sir. I don't work at a secondary school, and actually,
And it was probably a
maybe
response as well to something you'd already sent them. So.
Totally.
points that need to
Maybe
be-
we need to, maybe cultural change is because of these sort of like signifiers and indicators of the fact that it used to be, women used to be the property of men, before universal suffrage, that's when this sort of language was used. Why have we not? We don't walk around talking Dickensian to each other. Why? So anyway, so I got to be in my bonnet about it, as you can imagine. And no one was listening. Like the kid, please tidy your, no one was listening. So then I had to go. And what that meant was, I'd been writing to the Law Society because I realised I'd spoken to someone who said, you're either going to have to create groundswell or go like in right at the top, or maybe sort of sandwich both.
Yeah.
I'd been writing to the Law Society, they'd been ignoring me, been calling them, leaving them answer phone messages, being ignored. And so it just went on Women's Hour, just went on national radio. Yeah.
Love it.
And it got, honestly, I mean, it was like the highlight of my life.
You should share that link.
I got
on
like
the
81, it's been on LinkedIn, I got 81 million views or something. It was
That's insane.
insane.
Which tells you,
It was insane because the general public
like, what?
were like, what?
Yeah.
That's weird. What do you mean, everyone? And we're just sort of, being fed this Dear Sirs thing and just accept it. Oh, it's always been done that way. It's fine. And not challenging it. So, and as soon as I went on the radio, the Law Society called Radio 4. They did a right to reply while I was live on air. It really took me by surprise. I was like, there's a bit in the video where you sort of see me sort of like, I slightly go, Flynn,
Let's share that with us.
I've got a, and I was like, well, this is really, I sort of say something like, oh, this is really welcome news because I haven't heard from the Law Society for 2 years or something like that.
Good
And,
save.
but then
Like
to their credit, they worked with me and we had a team, and it was like senior counsel at the BBC and loads of really amazing women. Dana Denise Smith, who like eventually she's now president-elect of the Law Society, like third or fourth president of law. I can't remember, so forgive me if I'm getting, the detail wrong. But we worked with this amazing bunch of women, and finally we sort of got a seat at the table with the Law Society. And in the end, I was part of a group who rewrote the kind of, it's sort of like the compliance. It's not law, but it's their formal guidelines. And they now, as of the end of last year, they now deem it inappropriate, old-fashioned,
What's up?
sexist.
I didn't know that.
So if somebody writes to you, Dear Sirs, they really mustn't. And the SRA, which is Solicitors Regulation
that's
Authority,
really
are
good.
now involved.
That just shows you how important calling out things is.
So there you are.
There you go.
That's my answer.
Something just popped into my head. And it's gone already. No, it hasn't.
It's because you've got
I
the
was
menopause.
joking.
You've
Yeah.
got the
Got the
menopause.
menopause.
No,
I
no.
have got menopause. 100%.
Wait until you get
Tell
the
my
real
wife that.
menopause, darling.
Yeah, I think the bit that I suppose that I was kind of just thinking there is reactions to things. Because when you call something out, you must see a standard reply in terms of, oh, for fuck's sake, you know, not you again, or not this again.
Yeah.
And does that stop you or fuel you?
Fuels me, clearly. What do you think?
I thought so. But does it make you think, okay, well, how do I reach those people, or are they not worth fucking bothering with? Because they're never going to change.
Do you know what I was disappointed is when you said to me how people respond, but they do it privately on DMs to you.
I get a lot of DMs.
So, and I was just like, so they're that ashamed that they won't have it publicly discussed.
I don't think it's they're ashamed though. Am I right?
Why are they doing it in private?
Because of it's to do with where they are, maybe, like in their company. How would their company see it? I don't know. That's my assumption. I've had people message me, not the same subject, about posts that I've put out there.
What, upset with you?
No, never. I get the odd one, but not many. I'm too
Only
bloody
me.
vanilla. But about stuff that they agree with, because they're in a corporate role, they can't comment on the post. So in other words, their area manager might see it, that type of thing. That's what
I think you mean people sort of telling you off privately, because I get quite a lot of being told off privately.
Sorry, I was on the... See, I had the old rose to...
Yeah, you did.
So
you need to take them off.
I need to be a little bit more...
I get told off privately.
And I was just like...
Give us an example of a recent one.
I wonder if this is part of the problem. It's like, I am also reluctant to be really, really open. I mean, I could really whistle blow.
Okay.
But it's not my job.
I'm being the bigger person as well. But I'm just like...
When I say whistle blow, I mean, I'm giving myself more gravitas and credit.
You said that. So you're saying about the DMs.
Yeah.
What was, just so I really understand.
So I was surprised when we met earlier, just that the conversations we'd already had on LinkedIn about that post, some of them continued the conversation privately.
Right.
In quite a disparaging way. And I was just like, obviously they're ashamed of what they're saying or something because they're doing it privately.
Yeah.
Or not ashamed, but
just don't know it's not right.
I think it's a perception of things. See, and what I mean by that, then going back to calling out and the reaction. See, I had a couple of phone calls. I was in London.
Probably the same people who DM'd me.
But they just said, I think it's a bit harsh and blah, 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 blah. I said, I don't know. I'm pretty open-minded. I'm going to call it open-minded because though I can't ever understand fully someone's position, I'm quite willing to listen. And I am. And if I think, do you know what, I can improve on something, I'll do it. But generally speaking, I think most people aren't. And this is where the country seems to be with you're either left or you're right. And I think we're a lot closer than we all think we are on most subjects.
Yeah.
And I think it takes somebody to articulate it in a way that the Dear Sirs campaign does, where it triggers some kind of reaction.
Yeah, and that was, do you know what, in a way, it was like a massive gift, the Dear Sirs campaign, because it was so clear and so simple and so obvious and something everyone could change. It was almost like an easy fix because anybody, left or right...
But I don't think it was that easy, Ellie.
Well, it wasn't easy to get them to change it, but it was easy to explain it. So you're talking about articulating something, and what we're trying to articulate is the culture, and it's intangible.
It is intangible.
It's just everywhere.
Is that the challenge then?
Yeah. So we know that the stats are saying from this recent, the YouGov stuff and the Voice of the Agent stuff, we know that that's saying that 44% of women feel that they're discriminated against based on gender in the workplace by colleagues, and 71% when it comes to clients. What we would say probably, or lots of women would say, is you can just feel that, right? It's just palpable. It's a gut. You can't make it tangible. Like, how do we quantify that? And that's what's so hard. And that's why when there's an image of 10 white men, I go, because that's making it tangible. It's like it cements a paradigm that exists.
And I get that. But I've got a but.
Go on now. I've got to be nicer about it.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Far from it, actually. I mean...
okay, you're encouraging me to be more shouty.
Look, I think it's talking to an audience that I say is split. Yeah. So you've got people like Christian, and I would say I'm probably in between Christian and the person that would say, "Oh, shut the hell up," it's improving. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
but it's improving so
That's
slowly.
disappointing.
yeah, but I mean that as in,
Yeah, you're being honest.
I'm being honest. Like
You're
I've still got some work to
fence-sitter.
do. Yeah, I'm not.
No, I know.
But I
Yeah.
am though is someone that has probably only in recent years thought a lot more about it.
But you're being self-reflective,
Yeah.
and that's all we're asking for.
And are you thinking
I'm
more
sorry.
about it because you've got a daughter that's going to be entering the work?
I don't think so, because that would be naturally. You're right, because I said about my two daughters earlier. I mean, they're. I watched The Apprentice. Most winners these days are women anyway, and I think they're strong, fucking willed women, and I'm like quite proud of that.
Yeah, of course.
It's harder
Very
at
proud of
home,
it.
but all the feedback we get when they go around other people's houses for sleepovers is how bloody lovely they are. I'm like, they're not. They're horrible to me. But, we have a great relationship. But I suppose there is an element because you want to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think, well, hang on, the better they are at building resilience and all these different things, great. But I think from my own personal point of view, I see skill sets, characteristics, and the kind of things I feel should be part of an agent's DNA more naturally associated to women. And having a baby and going through, I mean, if it was down to men, and I'm being quite honest, to have kids, the population would have shrunk a little bit by now. And I'm not saying that for effect. I'm saying that because I think we're probably a little bit more selfish in that respect. And I think what women bring to the table in this industry, and I look around the industry now, and maybe because I'm aware of it more, I'm seeing great examples. And there was a lady I podcasted with yesterday called Kim McGinley. One of the reasons why she left where she was in this investment mortgage brokerage was one afternoon her child was sick at school and she said, "I need to go, if that's okay. Can I leave early?" It was like 2:30 in the afternoon. And they said, "Can't your husband go early?" I thought, that's interesting. But it was actually spurred her on to go and do her thing, build a team full of very strong women by the sounds of it, and she's smashing it out of the park. So I think going back to my point, trying to reach is this group of people, they're almost like the far right in this discussion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to make a point, not very well.
No, you are making it well, and I hear what you're saying, and I think so. What Alex said earlier was, do we just have to wait for the dinosaurs to die out,
and then there'll be a new?
And
I feel that's what's happening now.
Yeah, but we can't wait for them because that's another 20 years.
Yeah, we might not be around anymore. Well,
but also, we shouldn't have to wait for them, right? We should have change facilitated quicker. But I have now, because I haven't worked in the high street agency for 5 years, I don't know what it would be like to work in there, and I hope it's really different.
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
But
the research would suggest otherwise.
The fact that you've got so few female senior managers.
Oh yeah, so that's the other thing
insane.
that we really need to talk about. So it's all about leadership and visibility in terms of those positions of seniority. Yeah. It hasn't really got back. Like when you look at the graphs,
is it
like gender jaws and stuff like this? We know that there is something like 50-50 in the industry.
Yeah.
Something like there might even be a few more women, like 52-48 or something like that. I don't know.
But when you
give me
up,
my numbers. When you go up, it just goes like that.
Yeah,
By the time you get senior management, it's 75%, 25.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Or even worse. Yeah, but is it because though, Ellie, just quickly on that, because I'm interested in this subject because
I don't know all the answers.
No, but what's your opinion? So, do ladies look at those roles and
Women.
rule themselves out, and guys look at one or two of the characteristics and rule themselves in?
No, but that's
my theory is that we
just-
don't push ourselves forward enough as females.
I don't like the imposter syndrome.
No,
thing.
but I don't think we do as females.
Do you think it's
we
real,
don't
though?
shout loud enough, so we don't get seen.
But when you get shouted, when you shout loud,
yeah, we get
told to be quiet.
Yeah, but we get told we're aggressive, or it's.
I quite like it.
Okay, well that's good, but you get my point, which is we're not shouting loudly enough. It's like that scene in Barbie, right? It's like we're not shouting loudly enough to get ourselves promoted and put ourselves out there, and then when we do shout loudly enough, we get calm down.
Yeah.
So
it's just like
that's like lose-lose.
But I do feel like a lot of that promotion and it has happened in previous estate agents I worked at, happened away from the office environment where
Yeah,
the
okay.
networking was on a golf course, which I think a lot of females don't play golf, or it was in an environment that was outside, you know,
Yeah.
or a bar or a club or something. But it just felt like that we weren't the mirror image
There's
of
an
that manager, so we weren't promoted.
There's an amazing American woman, and I don't know I don't know the details, but I was listening to this the other day, and I'm sure she's American, and she's like a CEO or something, and it was on the female quotient, and she was so pissed off with the business that was done on golf courses. She just learned golf.
Yeah.
She just learned golf so she could go.
Get out
And she
there.
was like, oh, they're not actually really playing golf.
No, probably not.
And so she was like, I wasn't really playing golf. I
Yeah.
was just like picking up a few balls. But she's like, she identified that that's where the deals were being done.
Yeah.
I mean, I think culturally it's less like that here than it is in the
Yeah.
States. I don't know. I mean, I'm basing
But it's
this
that
on.
bonding. It's they're getting to
I'd
know
say
each other, and therefore they're.
It's probably not quite as strong as it
But I
is
mean,
maybe in
golf
the
is
States,
like so a million miles away from my life.
Yeah.
Never been on a golf course apart from like,
I've done a charity one, and I'm so.
what's it called? What's the thing at the
Pitch and putt.
seaside?
A pitch and putt, something like that.
Crazy
Crazy
golf.
golf.
Crazy golf in Margate.
So even my daughter's beat me at crazy golf, which is a bit embarrassing. But
But I don't buy it. I don't buy the women have worse.
Do you not? See,
no.
I think
Well,
I do because I think
That's
what
because
you
you're a
say-
really strong female, though.
And that's no, but I do, and because I think no, this is from a personal experience. Often over the years, I think women overthink the role,
Yeah.
and not overthink or overbelieve in themselves. And I think guys, sometimes I'm like,
Well,
God,
that's societal. That's societal.
You fucking nowhere near good enough to do this. You haven't got these skills, but they're like, no, I can do it.
I can do it. I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it.
But, well, it's both. It's a bit of both. isn't it?
That's. I mean, there's loads of McKinsey and Harvard research, isn't there,
Yeah.
about really, really
I'm
little,
saying yes, I don't
really,
know
really
about
little,
You're going to quickly
really,
Google it
really
later.
little kids, and then and the way that we talk to them, and the way that we encourage them, and the way that we judge them, and the values that we instill in them based on gender, and then they get to university, and then they go into the workplace, and again that discrepancy between sort of like images of success and what we understand as being kind of like successful financially and otherwise, and the gap quite quickly widens once we as a population and as a workforce we go into the workplace having, you know, because girls and boys do really, really well equally all the way through school and the education system, and it's really only at a certain point at which that kind of divide starts to become increasingly stark.
Yeah, because I get it. I still think that more can be done from where I sit to highlight the characteristics, the skills, the emotional parts of the roles and responsibilities, as opposed to just, you know, the role heading, the title, the salary,
And
that
also,
kind of stuff.
and I think also, like with managers in the past, the best salespeople inherently are really selfish because that's why they're great salespeople.
I think that's it. That's
And
of the past,
And that's the past. But they're the ones that generally would have got the promotions as managers.
and which took them into a place where they were often shit.
And they weren't, because they had no management
Tell us what you
experience,
think,
or
Matt.
they didn't have the right skill set as managers.
How many estate agents have left the industry because they went into management and failed because
They're not managers.
they're not very good at managing people? They're not in their A game.
I'm not very good. I'm terrible at managing people.
I'm not very good at managing people. I haven't got
terrible.
the patience.
I'm terrible. I'm good. You know, there's
I
other.
think I'd enjoy managing yourself though, because you'd get pissed off and tell me where to go every 5 minutes.
You'd get managed back, but she'd manage up.
She'd actually manage up 100 or manage up and then back down again.
But that's a great manager.
Yeah.
If you allow your staff to manage back, that's the free flow of information.
Well, I think what you
is
can do.
good,
So
and that's
what
the
we
basis of good appraisal.
genuinely. Yeah.
Going back to calling things out.
Oh no.
Yeah. And he's pointing at you.
Do we
Ellie.
call, no, well, do you know what? I'm putting those questions over here for a second. So, is enough being...
Because you're trying to get us to meet in the middle, aren't you? So that
That's
okay.
who I am.
No, but I think that's right. You're right. You are right.
I look at it and go, there are great examples, and maybe we need to be highlighting more examples in our industry of strong, because of the fact that they don't always, and I'm saying they, but I'm just trying to generalise for the sake of the conversation, that because I'm not keen on things like boss bitch and stuff like that.
No.
Right? I think that's
No,
just a
'cause that's-
fucking joke.
Or lady
personally,
boss.
right? And that just because
It's
you're
quite
a woman, you should,
condescending. It just
just
feels
because
like
you're
not
a woman,
very
you
nice.
should get the job. That's not what we're saying
No.
here. We're saying
Just have
the
equal.
skill set, the characteristics, the all of I believe in all of those
Yeah.
things. We need to show those examples out there more and highlight that more to bring more attention to those things. That's what I'm.
Although,
Tell me off.
No, not at all. Although, going back to we shouldn't appoint a woman just because she's a woman. Actually, there's this concept called the appointable woman, which is exactly that, which says if you've got 10 applicants, basically much of a muchness, basically similar level of competency, and you've got a team of all men, you absolutely should employ that woman just because it's positive discrimination, ostensibly.
Yes.
And we now call it affirmative action.
Yeah.
And you do have to recruit like that. You do have to build your team like that. There's a reason that my team looks relatively diverse, because it's deliberate.
Yeah.
You don't accidentally.
Just tapping into that then. How's that been for you? Because I know obviously you fundamentally believe in that, but it works really well, right? I'm assuming it's a great environment because you've got differences of opinion, and
it's a small team, so I don't know what these things are like at volume, right? So, and I do know that there are complications that come with expansion.
Yeah, 100%.
But Alex and I again were talking about this earlier, and it's like, well, we have, there are people in the team who display sort of stereotypically more masculine characteristics and salesy sort of aggressive tactics than others, and ones who are kind of slower and softer. And it's not really about gender, weirdly. It's making sure that we're kind of really open and we're really flexible. And flexibility, going back to your thing about like an old model that is historic, that is about kind of like, can you be in at 8 a.m. to answer the phone to like get all the leads, whatever, I don't know, because I've never worked in that environment, but this is what people tell me. Like, and you have to be being the fastest on the phone. And Rex talks about being at KFH and like the person who made the most sales that month, like getting an email with like an animated like $ sign on it. And it's just like, what?
I think we used to have like the best salesperson had a BMW to drive around,
and it's just like
something.
Bananas. So it's the opposite of that. It's the opposite of that kind of environment, whereby there are targets and there are KPIs, but they're different ones. And you have to embrace flexibility. So for a really, really long time, we had an office manager who left every day at 4:00 because she was a single mum of 3 kids.
What was she like?
Brilliant.
There you go.
And she's
that's my default.
And she's still with us after 5
Yes.
years. She's now moved into a more part-time role, and she's our onboarding manager. But it's, guess what? She was really good at juggling. She was still is really good at juggling, really good at wearing lots of hats, doing a million things at once. Because she's a single parent of 3 kids, right? So
great transferable skills there.
All of that stuff. And so actually, but it has to be deliberate. You can't expect diversity and inclusion to happen by accident.
No.
I think you also got to want it. You can't.
This is what I'm trying to create or build, and I need to make sure that I am more deliberate around.
And going back to manals can only happen if the only people who are invited to the manal are mans.
There's a lot of big industry players, and you do see it on a regular basis, don't you? Where it is manals. For sure.
Right, and you have to kind of go.
Because it's come on my radar because of you lot.
Or you have to,
that was deliberate.
Or you have to say no. So I hope I know somebody, a woman who is like quite high profile, but she will say no to she's invited to stuff a lot, and she says no if it's not 50% women. She just doesn't. So in a way, the individual men have a responsibility.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see you on another manor.
I think you need to be stalking me.
No, but do you see why I say that?
I am. Because I'll forget, because my brain's like a sieve sometimes.
Let me finish. There's bigger systemic issues, but we also can change the dial ourselves. Like, Dinosaurs is proof of actually one person making a lot of noise about something and we can.
Where would be the first dial to turn in our industry? So on that basis, we all have an individual responsibility. Like I've taken today, I've taken away already. I need to think about the perception. let's call it perception.
Yeah, sure.
That's my thing. I can do more.
I think it would be great to see more female role models.
That was my other point I was making.
I'd love to see more because just to see like.
But
maybe,
we are them. They
We
can't.
are.
We are them.
See, that's my imposter syndrome. I don't think I'm a female role model.
But we are them.
Well,
You just
you
have
are.
to step into that space.
I want the next 20-year-old that's coming into this industry to see you can have a family, you can have a great career, and you can be really successful and do it on your terms. But I would like that to be more visible. So maybe that's on us.
That's Steph. That's Harry Truman. That's you.
Something you can take forward, isn't it? As part of the
Step into
movement.
the space.
Yeah, I just think to see more female role models for everyone to see what good looks like and what can be achieved.
And it can't come from nowhere. And in a weird way, we do sort of have that responsibility. And then people like you have the responsibility to say, I'm going to see it wherever it is. Because you know that they say that there's that thing, confirmation bias. You said to me after the Simon Gates
what
post.
have I done?
No, you said it was the first thing I thought when I saw
I
the
did.
picture.
I knew, only because...
Was that because I pointed it out to you? Right. So
no,
that,
you pointed it out on mine.
Yes, exactly.
And I think it then made me see it,
Exactly.
and I was like, it was one of those.
That's that thing of...
And then you keep seeing it everywhere now.
Exactly.
You can't unsee it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is the thing of, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And that's so important. So now you have to kind of embrace that, take responsibility for that and go, okay, I've seen it now. I know you're sort of vindicating what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I'm quite open with that.
And so that is how it spreads.
Yeah. So, going back, and this is talking about the senior kind of high level, breaking the mold kind of roles and stuff like that. I don't know. I launched an event called BU, the Modern Estate Agent. This was 9 years ago. And I wanted to find the keynote speaker that, for me, was someone that would be able to empower the audience, but also empower women. Because I genuinely believe they make really great estate agents. Now, I'm not talking about the top tier where there's not enough opportunities. So I got Baroness Karen Brady to do the keynote.
Okay.
And she was great. I mean, I wouldn't mess with her. I mean, I made a real mess up of the pre-call with her when I cracked a joke about West Ham and it landed like a fart in a lift.
Oh, God, yeah, it will be with her, won't
But
it?
yeah. Well, I'm a West Ham fan. I thought I could get away with it. But anyway, it didn't really work out. But
So was my dad. I knew I liked you.
But she was brilliant. And she said, why have you invited me? And I said, well, actually, I think the industry needs to find and attract more women who are coming into a male-dominated industry. Because she went into football at a very young age, Birmingham City, and I was actually a footballer at the time. And I remember her, because I was at Peterborough United, we played at Birmingham.
Yeah.
And I remember her, she was quite attractive, so this chat was, I can't remember, I think she was like MD or something like that. She came into a football club. And this was like alien.
Well, she was attractive and good.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
That's a clip. Get that one down. But no,
I'm going to play that on repeat.
But what I thought was, you couldn't get a more male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
She talks about the boardroom. She talks about, when other chairmen see you and you're at the game and you're like, who are you? You're like the PA kind of sort of thing. So she really has smashed it out of the park by raising, that kind of credibility around that.
Am I right in thinking that she has also spoken about the regret of not being around for her kids enough when they were younger?
So that came up in
the
the
mum
talk
guilt.
because there was a lot of talk around.
Don't say the words, because just don't say them.
Why?
Because don't say them.
Can't say that.
So I think you, as a female,
No,
you
but
have mum guilt and business guilt. Because if you're with the kids, you're
Well,
worried
this came
about
up yesterday
business.
with Kim. I was talking to.
And you just, it's the juggle.
Because it goes back to me talking about feeling resentful about not being asked to speak about my business and what I do as an estate agent owner, and I'm always asked about women in the estate agency. That is why I go on podcasts and I'm asked onto panels that aren't manels, and why I'm invited to have these conversations. Nobody asks me to come and talk about the market. Nobody asks me to talk about interest rates. Nobody asks me to talk about the impact of the war in Iran. Nobody asks me to talk about home staging and marketing or photography. Nobody asks me to talk about the business model. People ask me to talk about women, and then they go, do you have mum guilt? And it's actually sort of part of the problem, then it becomes a kind of self-fulfilling issue, which is, why aren't we talking about the business of our business?
Why aren't we?
You tell me, because we're not invited to.
Well, I speak to other ladies about their roles in their businesses, and I suppose what you see out there, you will go towards that content if they're talking passionately about something. So if it's a guy and it's about X, it's a lady talking about Y. That's what I see. That's what I think they want to talk about. That's my own perspective.
And also, you know, as an agency owner, and I think I posted about this stat the other day, there used to be between 13 and 15% of women who owned their own estate agencies in the UK, and it's gone down to between 8 and 10.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Now, we don't think that takes, that's private limited company, so I don't think it takes into account self-employed or sole traders. Yeah. However, I think even if you did take that into account, and it's very recent because it's something that's on the rise, sort of super recently, quite quickly, that's grown quite quickly, it's still a really small figure.
It's small. Yeah, it is. Why do you think that is?
It's the same reason why we don't go into management sometimes.
You're with me on that, aren't you?
I do believe it's that because I suffered from imposter syndrome, I do believe that we don't push ourselves out there enough.
But don't you think men suffer from imposter syndrome too?
Not as much. I don't think.
No, I don't think they do as much.
I just worry that this is just another
excuse.
Not excuse, but just another way to keep us.
No, I'd say I'm using it as a. So if that is the case, what can we do?
But then it makes it our fault. So there's this sort of
taking responsibility first.
There's a book called, and it's something like it's the concept is fix the system, not the woman. It's not the fault of the individual woman. It's not, you know, it's the culture, and it's being able to push yourself forward. It's feeling comfortable putting yourself in a position of potential vulnerability. It's feeling that it would be okay to speak out or to say something or to potentially speak out of turn. And how do you do that if there's an example which is, the system's rigged against you. Like there's an example of construction sites. And for a really, really long time, the majority of construction sites just didn't have female toilets. Wow. You can't go to the loo. Right. So you're creating an environment. You're creating an environment. You're creating an environment.
You don't want to go in the men's. But you're right. You're creating the wrong environment.
You don't belong here. You shouldn't be here. There isn't even a toilet for you. And so if you, dear sirs, like, you don't belong here, a boardroom full of men, what does it take, the Karen Bradys of the world, whoever it might be? It takes that to go, no, I am this. And no, there are so few human beings. So if the culture and everything you're seeing, and you don't see somebody kind of forging the path that you also want to follow yourself. I tell the story of taking my youngest daughter to a valuation in a sling as like the moment that I realised that I was creating our own culture for our brand that would be something different, because I was like, I've got to do this. I haven't got an option. Either the client's going to react really well to it or really badly. I'm either going to get the instruction or I'm not, but I haven't got a choice. And I suppose that's what I mean by cultural. It's like we kind of got to we really do have to walk the walk.
Yeah, well, I get what you're saying now. Yeah, I definitely.
It's really intimidating.
But I'm thinking. Sorry, you carry on. So
I was going to say, as a female branch manager, when you walked into a managers meeting and you were the only female, it's really intimidating because you don't have quite the same jokes or the same banter because you don't think the same way. And also, I was a young female branch manager, so it just didn't feel as comfortable.
So the stats on age discrimination, again, women report much more highly that they feel that they're discriminated against because of age than men do.
Yeah.
So that's also really interesting.
So it just because I was 26 when I was a branch manager at Countrywide, and it was running my first branch. But I'd go into these meetings with 15 other male managers. Some of them were 45, so almost double my age, and it didn't feel particularly welcoming, and it didn't feel like, oh my God. So I can imagine why some don't go much further or they drop out of agency. at that
But
point.
that's so important. And then, as you say, they socialise with each other. So then they're all going down the pub together on a Friday. Like, if that's not your environment, you don't fit. How?
It's hard to build that rapport with your other peers. And I think that's where, hopefully it does change a little bit more now in estate agency. And it certainly did when I changed to a really great leading Brighton estate agency. You know, when I changed from big corporate to an independent, it was a much nicer culture. But it's still, you know, a large proportion. I think there was one other that was a female branch manager and then the HR lady. There was just still a big proportion were men.
Or
and it's
the
hard
women,
to
all the
communicate
women
with
are
them
in
sometimes.
the lowest pay quartile. So disproportionate number of women are in admin and support roles, not in leadership roles. So even if they're there,
it's if I know, I think the system thing you talked about and the environment is a responsibility for all of us. And as a guy, I would say, yeah, that could be much better in our industry. I'm a big believer in personal responsibility, and I think that can be improved with all of us. I think, you know, very easy to look outside yourself, but it's okay owning stuff. But if when you get to that place, there's not the example that you used, the environment, like the toilets on site, you know, you're a bit knackered, aren't you? So it's kind of like, it's like that two-pronged attack, isn't it, that we're looking for.
But that's the
Told
top
you I
down.
wouldn't ask any of these questions.
That's the top down and the groundswell thing, and then the culture being the thing in the middle.
Yeah, and I think that's where I see the groundswell more than the top down.
Yeah, you will.
Maybe.
Because most of us
Do you
are
know what I
on
mean? Yeah.
Or we're in a different model now. We're like a lot of self-employed agents where we're doing our own thing and we're quite happy doing our own thing. But I just want to make sure there's some really great role models for the young females coming into the industry. Otherwise, I feel sadly we're going to lose some great estate agents because there's just not a place for them. And it'd be a shame for our industry to lose those great talents.
And again, I think that's where recruitment comes in. And, you know, training women and showing them and saying, look, you can do this. And this is what it looks like.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like for everyone that I work with, I try and figure out on those angles of personal responsibility, and then, you know, for mainly business owners, what kind of business do they want to create? What kind of environment? What does it look like now? What does it look like in 3, 5, 10 years? You're always trying to think, because individual values do come into play, don't they? Like, I'm pretty sure I know your values. Just how you show up and how you speak and what you're passionate about. What's important to you are your values, right? And I can see with yourself, you know, I think empathy is probably quite a big part of who you are. And you always, you know, I think
you're talking about a moral barometer, and I think that's what you've been talking about from the beginning. You know, when you talk about the binary left and right, and you're talking about most of us in the middle, that's a moral barometer, isn't it? That's sort of being...
But I think it's also, there's a barometer for our industry. If you're looking at change, that the groundswell, which I feel is happening, keep calling it out where you see it. Guys like me sometimes need a bit of a slap round the face to get to actually.
And it'll be educational for everyone on LinkedIn.
Yeah, because it's for sure. Because I think, you know, you need reminders. You need people to point things out. I think it's a healthy thing. Equally, I think it's a healthy thing to have discussions like this today, where we might agree on most things, but not everything. But I do see there's a bigger responsibility for the bigger companies, and I don't think they're doing a good enough job, in my opinion, about facilitating the strengths of the candidates.
If they do, they'd have much better labour retention, and it will save them if they want to be really vulgar. It will save them loads of cash because the people will stay in the jobs and people will promote through the jobs, and they'll get better people.
Yeah, loyalty, commitment.
Stay.
Yeah, definitely. It works both ways. I'll see if there's any other questions I've got.
Go on then. Put your rose tinted back on.
They're not quick fire. Here we go. How much responsibility do leaders have for how things look, not just how they're meant?
I'd say they've got to show what good looks like, for sure.
Best practice.
Yeah.
If they can't show what great is, well, there's no hope for all the others.
And I did put that. I always fuck things up.
What do you mean by leaders?
Well, I'll
Be
flip
more
it.
specific.
Why do you think more women aren't in those spaces? So they
We
are
just
the
told you.
examples. But is it a lack of innovation, a lack of appeal,
Oh.
or something deeper?
Well, I think it's a really good word, innovation, anyway. But we are in a really old-fashioned industry, right?
Agreed.
Going back to DSO, so this is like very coming from another sector. It was quite shocking in sort of like lots of ways. Just really old school.
So
So
traditional.
really traditional, sort of conservative with a small c.
Is that because some of these brands have been around since
But
1785 or
maybe
something?
DSRs, going back to this sort of cultural thing again, all these sort of signifiers of, I mean, even golf, like, you know. But I don't know. It's not a contemporary
It's not fresh, is it?
business that's sort of like fresh and pioneering and progressive, and it isn't. It's not groovy.
I mean, you see how some estate agents write their details up. It's definitely not fresh.
See, one of the brands that just stood out to
There
my
are
mind.
there are new
That
there are
location,
new-
location.
Yeah.
The guys there, they seem pretty cool with all of this sort of stuff. I'm quite envious because, in some ways, I think, oh, that's amazing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
And
you
I
have to be
love it.
intentional about
Yeah.
what you're doing, which goes back to your point.
Location, brickworks,
Yeah.
really similar model. The Modern House and Inigo, Story of Home. There are, there is, by the way,
Go on.
a non sort of like, there is a new wave.
I think
It's
that's
just
where
not-
self-employed is coming in, isn't it? At
Yeah,
TOUK,
that was
can't
how I
believe
was.
it.
Yeah,
At
certainly
TOUK, I can't believe
with
the way.
Steph driving it
Well,
as well.
Steph's driving a brilliant
talk
job.
maybe, but I wouldn't say self-employed across the board.
No, but the way I feel in the next 3 or 4 years, when people want that personal agent, that's where they're going to go.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure there's still a space for people with the corporate sector that will be the high street.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause
one of the
everyone needs to
questions I had
go.
here are some of these environments simply not designed in a way that feels accessible or attractive
Yes.
to women.
Yes, because
That's
you don't.
going back to the environment again, isn't it? Like the
But
system.
it's all diversity. It's not just women. It's also people from the global
Yeah,
majority,
yeah, I
right? So, again, it's that kind of like, what does an estate agent look like? A young white man in a suit. It's that sort of, again, we're going back to that stereotype. And if you can't see yourself in these roles, then there isn't a feeling of I
that's the
belong.
point.
That's the point.
That's
you
the
can't
point.
see yourself. You're
And a
not
lot
reflected.
of estate agency trainers are all men.
Right.
No, Matt. But do you know what they are? But
On
some
the
of
golf
them,
course.
Oh, I don't mind a bit of golf.
don't mind a bit.
Okay.
But it's
Not very good.
as a female, you come in, you're trained by a man, you've got a male manager. There's just a lot of testosterone in the room.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what. Look, I started when there were ashtrays on desks, and it was,
that's not giving
everyone
your
were
age
in
away, is it?
suits, and
It's already
it was
done.
80% men really in the offices.
I remember
The admin was the lady. Generally speaking, there would be some. I feel from that I see it's moved on a lot.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying, and I feel the self-employed and the kind of encouragement around that because it allows people to control their own destiny, flexibility, freedom to earn. The bit that I'm not buying into is that there's enough female leaders at the top who are the example for more leaders in those corporate ladders.
But you don't get to the top. Normally, you don't get to the top by going in at the top, right? You get to the top
Well, it hasn't
by
tended to
moving
work that
up.
way,
So
has
if
it?
the structure
Yeah.
is rigged in a way that doesn't
Which is what you were
encourage
saying.
free movement,
Yeah.
then it's really hard to go in and work your way up the proverbial
I mean,
ladder.
the glass ceiling's painful when you keep hitting it. It just gets
Yeah.
boring, and that's when people just
Disengage.
And that's when
disengage,
people
and that's where you
leave.
have to self-preservation because
You
it's really
leave.
demoralising. You leave.
So
I can't leave.
Yeah,
I would
you-
have.
what
But that's-
industry? Yeah, you're stuck now.
I tell you, Steph couldn't have called me at a better time than when she did call me to say, "Hey, do you fancy?"
Yeah, because you'd had enough.
I'd just be like, "Okay, I'm done."
There'll be a lot of people like that
Yeah,
still.
I know there will be.
The only
a
thing,
shame,
don't
though,
get
that-
cross. The only thing about the self-employed model, and I do think that this is a massive thing in societally and in the workforce, is that if there isn't statutory pay and leave, and if things like maternity aren't structurally embedded, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is there's no sick pay, holiday pay, maternity, things like that.
But you earn enough money to save, so
once you're there already, so
Yeah.
you cut your teeth and got your 23 or however many years experience by being in an employed role, right? So really what we need is we also need employers.
But yeah, we do
I'm
need
not
that.
saying it's not a good
Oh, we
option for
definitely
some
need-
I'm
people.
going to plug my vision.
What we also
100%.
need is the employers,
Yeah.
the people who actually want a stable, because self-employed, being free, I mean, I was freelance as an artist and lecturer for years, so I know what that's like. It's not for everybody. Not everybody can do it, and it isn't secure. So we also need those structural things embedded in
Well, it's funny.
other models.
I completely agree, because individually, different people at different times of their life with different experiences and everything else. And I think if there was that structure and that support and that flexibility, you may well have stayed and
Yes.
grown
Yes,
through
exactly.
the ranks. Have I not asked you anything that you think he should have asked us that? So you're going to leave here going, yeah, that was a bit shit. He didn't really ask me anything about that.
No, I do not think that. And
Okay.
I wouldn't say that.
You might.
No, I wouldn't.
You would tell
To
me
Rex,
as well.
I would. I just
You'd
thought it was
tell me.
really
You'd
fit.
tell
I've
me.
got a question for you. Is there anything you've heard today that you're going to take away and do
Yeah,
differently?
definitely perception. Definitely, I think we need to see more great examples. And I think when you put yourselves out there, I think you are a great example. It might not be to the guy over here on the far, like the far right example I gave. I don't think you're going to move the dinosaurs very far, very fast. But I do think they're becoming extinct. And I think a lot of estate agencies are becoming extinct because they haven't changed.
Yeah.
They haven't moved with the times. They're not prepared to
Like
look in the
poor Mission
mirror.
McKay, I can't
And
believe it,
I
yeah.
do genuinely feel it's things like AI and diversity and diversification. All of these things are parts of the future. You have to be open-minded to being a better human rather than some of the other stuff.
My question to you is, what about not the dinosaurs? Because I actually sort of don't know if I don't think I care about the dinosaurs, because I think you're right. I think
Well, you're working on me today. You've given me some.
But you and your type.
Oh, wow, that's savage.
Did you hear
really.
that, Jackie? Get that on camera. We're going to
No,
clip
it's
that
not.
one up.
I did it on purpose. I'm being serious,
Yeah,
because genuinely, the friendship and the professional relationship that I hope that this is the beginning of, I mean that sincerely, that is the glue for the thing that is going to move the dial.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So how do I convince you and your crew and the others, the ones who are messaging me, who I know are good people, really going, I don't see what you're talking about. You're like, it's sort of trying to gaslight me, like what you're talking about. Like you're seeing something that's not there.
Yeah.
How do I think I know what you're going to say. This is the thing. I think you're going to say, to get through to them, you need to be more palatable about the way that you frame things and you deliver
I said
things.
this in our WhatsApp.
Maybe. Because you told me not to call it out. You're like, stop calling it out.
I think you can call it calling out. I think creating awareness, I think it's a great way of putting it, because it is awareness. And by the way, I think as a guy, I think how it's called out or created awareness, it could be slightly more easy to understand, because I think most people's natural reaction to things is to look outside of themselves and to be defensive, when actually that's not the point. The point is we want to create awareness. This is a really good subject for us to talk about today, which is why we're creating awareness by just having a conversation about it. That's created this conversation, you calling me out. I think, how do you get that through to those people like me? I think I know women in estate agency are doing their thing. And I think it's a really good thing, because I think there's a membership of people that are able to share their experiences and everything else. Then when they do the events, it's open to
everyone.
To everybody, yeah.
But I think there's more that could be done, and I think that's the point I'm making.
Yeah. And I think there needs to be, and I'm a big fan of Women in Estate Agency, and I think that it's an amazing networking and social group. I think it's like super necessary. Like I think it's really filled a big void.
Yeah.
For me, I'm interested in kind of more sort of political, tangible change, like stuff actually being done, like moving the dial. And I think there's space for that as well. And I think that's where I feel we're falling down.
But I feel that's where you're strong.
Well, maybe I have to be the change I want to see.
Honestly,
I know it's such a cliche, but
it would be daft for me to do it.
It's really exhausting, though, by the way.
Yeah, well, you articulate yourself way better than I do, especially when it comes to putting something in writing. You can understand half the stuff I put. But the point I'm making is that what you've done with Dear Sirs is you created awareness and you took it on. And I think there's things that we can take on which will garner a lot more positive interest. So it's the delivery of the message that I think we could work on. Because I don't think guys like myself are anti-equality or anti-being open to this thing. I think it's if it lands in a way which is a bit like, well, I'm not trying to do that. Do you know what I mean?
People feel like they're being attacked.
I think so.
Yeah.
And my initial reaction to Gates's thing was, I know what's coming next.
Yeah.
Because I knew that was going to be the case. But I think it's right for it to be called out.
Do you also then think, because I get quite a lot of like harsh backlash.
Do you enjoy it?
No, not when it's not very nice.
Oh, is it really not very
nice?
nice?
I mean, when people sort of like go on a post and go, fuck off, you're boring, and people think this about you, and yeah. I'll tell you later. It gets quite
personal. Yeah.
And it gets quite personal.
That's not cool.
That's when I sort of feel like, I feel upset, like personally hurt. I probably will cry. There is also, I get what you're saying. Part of me feels like I shouldn't have to make myself palatable.
No, I know.
Coming off this sort of podcast, Matt, what are you taking away from this that you're going to do differently?
Yeah, look, I think already in this conversation, I'm even more aware of perception. So I think when it comes to putting content out there, I need to be a lot clearer and a lot more intentional about including what we've already discussed today. And actually, recently in the last 2 or 3 months, I've started working with a female business owner, really 14-year-old. She's not 14, but she's got a 14-year-old estate agency. And she's superb to work with. Absolutely, she's a straight shooter, says it as it is. Love working with her already. But I've naturally attracted men to mentor, which I find, and I've never deliberately done it. So in my little brain, I'm going, let's do my content. And I think that goes back down to what we were saying.
I guess we always mirror each other.
Yeah, because you said, I don't get to talk about X, Y, and Z, your business and so on and so forth. But I think that's maybe just because we're showing ourselves out there, we're attracting the bit. But I agree, my perception. Definitely.
Okay. How do I get you and your type to
That's
listen?
It, my type. That's the clip. Right. I know there's your authenticity and your voice and how you want to
you're
put
going to
things
say
out
I'm
there.
too shouty.
No, I don't.
attacking.
I don't think it's no. I think, but I do think if you're trying, if I was going to sit with a client, a vendor, and I think we've got similar values. I think they're a good client I could work with. I would try my best to speak in their language.
Yeah, you always mirror your
to a degree.
clients, yeah.
But
Try
more
and
to
generate
try and make
rapport.
sure that what I say hits them. Because it isn't what you say, it's what they hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think what we hear, if we could, is, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And actually meeting you today in the WhatsApp group, it's not that at all. It's not that at all.
I think that, so I have two reactions. My sort of quite strong reaction is, why should I make myself more palatable? And I think in a way what you're saying is, this is the dominant culture, and so you have to come into it and you need to adjust and kind of shape what you say and how you say it in order for it to be received in a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fair enough. I would talk to a client in a language because I want the client to instruct me and pay me, and it's my livelihood. I suppose
It's quite important, that, isn't it?
It's quite important. So there's skin in the game there for me. In a way, I sort of feel as if it isn't my sole responsibility to deliver something to you that I feel is a kind of deep unfairness and inequality, why should I package it up in a
But
way
you're
that
putting
you
it
like?
out there though to help change the dynamic.
Yes.
What I'm saying is I agree that we should change the dynamic.
Yes.
I think if you're going to engage people that are probably a little bit behind the curve, it might need some
Yes.
softening up.
We
And
need
I-
some rapport building before we go for the
I
jugular,
think so.
right?
And by the way, right, but I think it is a little bit systemic that we've
It's
talked
totally
about, right?
systemic. Yeah.
So I think we're moving to new pastures. I don't think we can wait for the prehistoric age to
It's too long.
No. So I'm with you on change.
No, and we're not trying to change those
I don't
guys
think-
because
they're
they're
gone.
too, and they are guys, and they're too far over
They're
there.
too far, yeah.
But I am more, like you say, you're right. I'm more concerned by the people who I think probably intentionally or sort of morally agree,
Agreed.
but who are still privately messaging me saying, I think it's too harsh. I don't really see what the problem is here.
And they won't see the problem because they've never experienced it.
Well, I nearly invited Simon Gates onto this today,
Okay.
but purely because I know he's open-minded like me. And I thought of one or two other people, and I think it's a really good bloody subject because I think these are the kind of conversations with balance on a panel that would help. And I think it is easier to have a conversation like this than to put something on LinkedIn because, like texting,
You don't
the
quite
context can be misconstrued.
But I'm open to conversation.
I know.
I say yes when people ask me to go and talk about things.
Yeah.
But I also think if you also then have to be responsible. I have to be responsible for what I say if I respond to something and how I react, right? But the person who makes the post has to be responsible for the post in the first
And
place too.
I agree with that. And I think that's a good point to get to. I think that's true. I think the awareness of posting and what goes out there is what I've taken away from today.
Yeah.
To answer your
Perfect.
question.
So
And
we've done
I'm
a little
not-
bit of education.
We
today,
have.
so that's good.
I'm not like Teflon either. I get some really, really horrible public and private messages, which are really, really deeply
That's not
personal.
okay.
And
That is so not
not
okay.
okay.
No,
And I know
I-
you've had quite a lot of, do me a favour and all that sort of stuff. And it's not.
I'm not surprised. I am surprised, but I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed.
It's
That's
really
just fucking
disappointing. It's really disappointing.
Because I think we need to listen to each other more. I think that would
I'm
help.
not the enemy though. If that's the.
I think ultimately
I
the
think
advice
you
we're
were.
giving is to help
wouldn't-
everyone benefit in the industry so it all moves forward and everyone has a more harmonious, better business.
But you don't learn, do you, just by being in a tunnel? You
God,
you
no.
need to kind of open your mind. I think me and other guys could try and see things differently. And I think that's the starting point for a lot of us. And in that awareness creates a little bit of change. And I think to move it along faster, we've just got to do more.
Yep.
And I think doing more of the things that we've discussed will help. I think we'll get back on at some point this year and we'll get a few more people together and we'll do a panel.
If we start arranging it now, we'll be there all right in 6 months, won't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
6 years.
send me the people that will tell me all the ones that are DMing you. I'll get them on and we'll have a proper tear up.
I don't know.
I think
like that?
no, it'd be too feisty. I wouldn't like that confrontation. So there you go. As a female, I,
I
don't
think-
like that confrontation.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
I'm like,
I'm really confrontational. Did you know?
It surprises me. But no, I really enjoyed having a conversation
been
with you
great.
today. Thanks for coming to London as
it's
well.
fun.
We got there in the end.
We did.
I
Just
think
went
we
the
could do
tube
this
strike.
again.
We
I think
could.
we could do
We've
this
now
again.
got a venue. We've got
a venue.
a
Steve's
location.
lovely.
Oh, I love
And you're
Steve.
going to step into your space.
I'm going to step in my space and
You
and take responsibility
Yeah.
and ownership for it.
Yeah.
And that's actually all we can do. Also, as women who are running, female-led
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah, totally.
Again, there is an obligation for men to do that and for other people in the industry to do that, but also for us to create our own culture. It's like, be the change you want to see. I know it's such a cliche, but
It's not though, is it? It's a great starting point. Thank you, ladies.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank
Sir,
you for
thank you,
inviting
sir.
us on, sir.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Mr. Giggs.
Thank you. And
So
that's
Giggs.
that's a wrap. So can you say, please like, follow and subscribe to this fabulous podcast?
Please
Please like,
like, follow, and subscribe.
to this great podcast.
So
And
Giggs
follow
of Gigs.
these ladies on LinkedIn
Women.
and Instagram. Women. Do you prefer women? Why is ladies not?
It's just a bit weird.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like ladies who
Women,
lunch.
follow these women on social media.
At least you didn't call us
Whereabouts?
females.
Whereabouts?
So on Instagram, I'm Alexandra Property Hearn.
Oh.
Where do you hang out normally on
I
social
hang
media?
out on LinkedIn because I'm not on Instagram. Ellie Reese.
Ellie Reese.
Yeah.
Not Eloise. I get told off.
Ellie Reese.
Love you all. Have a great week, and I'll see you on the next one.